Hello, how's everybody doing today? Good morning. We are here for another Bible reading, another story. We're going to do another story. Today we're going to look at one of the parables that Jesus spoke about out of Matthew 25. If you are new here, here's what we do. We go through the different stories of the Bible. For people who don't know what the stories are, maybe you've only read bits and pieces, maybe some of this stuff is confusing, you don't understand what it means, and so you've avoided reading it. We go through these stories so that you can know what they say. That way, if it comes up in conversation, you can speak about it intelligently instead of feeling a little shy about the subject, because you'll know what it says. So we've been kind of jumping around to different places in the Bible and different stories here and there. We try to stay with an entire book. We've done several of the Old Testament stories and stayed with the whole book of those. But sometimes in different places of the Bible, there's just little stories that come out of different books. And the four Gospels of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are filled with different stories. There's not a continuous story, if you will. There's different things that Jesus taught about. He taught with stories, and these stories are called parables. It's when you take something that is understandable and known, and give it some practical, moral underlining application, if you will. And this is sort of how Jesus taught many times. We're going to talk about this parable that comes out of Matthew 25, and it is a parable about these 10 virgins. He's going to tell this story, and he's going to expect the listener to understand what he's saying. Jesus has just gotten done speaking to people about what is going to happen in Matthew 24 in the last days. What's going to happen at the end of time. And he tells them, he says, nobody knows the hour or day that I will return. But you'll know what the signs are. And he tells them, he gives them kind of a list of all of these signs that the Son of Man is going to come back. He refers to himself as the Son of Man. And explains about being faithful. And then we get to chapter 25, and he tells this story to sort of illustrate what he has just taught them. So let's begin. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the groom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they didn't take oil with them, but the wise ones took oil in their flasks with their lamps. When the groom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. In the middle of the night there was a shout, "Here's the groom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil because our lamps are going out." The wise ones answered, "No, there won't be enough for us and for you. Go instead to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." When they had gone to buy some, the groom arrived, and those who were ready went with him to the wedding banquet. And the door was shut. Later, the rest of the virgins also came and said, "Master, Master, open up for us." He replied, "Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore, be alert, because you don't know either the day or the hour." There are 3 ways that we study the Bible, that we learn from the Bible when we read these things. Number 1 is we have to have reading comprehension. In other words, we have to know what the words on the page are. If you don't read these words for yourself, you don't know what they say. Secondly, what was it saying to the people of the time? What was the culture, the history? We sort of have to understand how they viewed things back then, because we tend to look at things through our modern day eyes. And last but not least, what, if anything, is it saying to us today? What we know is that the things that Jesus taught are always applicable to today's life as well, because he has spiritual teachings in there that go beyond just the story themselves. So let's unpack this one with our 3 ways of looking at things. We just read what it says, so we know the words on the page now. Let's kind of go through that. At that time, what time is he talking about? At that time. He's talking about the time that he just told them about, a time that is going to come in the future, the end of times, towards the end of the world, the end of age, if you will, the end of the way that we know it. The kingdom of heaven, okay, so he's talking about something other than earth, will be like 10 virgins. He's trying to describe the coming of the kingdom of heaven and how that's going to be. And he says there are these 10 virgins, and they were preparing to meet their groom. Well, that seems very strange to us in a day and age where we have one person marry another person. We don't have 50 wives, and things like that. So this seems a little bit odd to us. But he's speaking to their culture. And weddings were done completely different. I could do a whole teaching probably on how weddings were done then, but we're not going to get into that. So they were done different. And just kind of a small thing. The groom and his party would come for the bride, come pick up the bride, so to speak, for the wedding. And she would be waiting and waiting, but she didn't always know when he was going to come. She'd have kind of the day and the time. They'd have that planned out. But it might be 4 o'clock, it might be 6 o'clock, but she would wait with anticipation, excited for her groom to come. And he would gather his party together, and they would go and get the bride and bring her to the wedding feast. And this was a time of celebration. This was an exciting time for everybody. But something delayed this particular groom. These virgins had all taken their lamps and filled them with oil, and time kind of got delayed, so they started burning the oil up in their lamps. And in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, there's a shout, "The groom is here! Hey guys, come on out, the groom's here." Now it's the middle of the night, so it's dark. It's a very dark time. And 5 of these virgins had extra oil in their lamps, so they were able to go meet the groom because they could see. And the other virgins didn't, because they thought that the groom was going to come sooner than he did. So they said to the 5 that had oil, "Hey, give us some of the oil that you have so that we can all have oil." And they said, we were prepared for this. We prepared just in case, and if we give you some of ours, we won't have any left. You're going to have to go get your own. So they go and get it, but while they are gone, while they go to try to get more oil, the groom takes the 5 that did have the oil. He takes them away, takes them to the wedding feast, and he closes the door. Now the other 5 go try to find some more oil, and they come and they start knocking on the door. "Hey, let us in, let us in." And the groom says to them, "I don't know who you are." In other words, I'm not letting strangers into this wedding feast. On the surface, this is a very interesting story of 10 women who some had oil and some did not. But what is this really saying? What was Jesus teaching in this parable? The very last line he says, not the last one, but verse 13 of chapter 25, he says, "Therefore, be alert, because you don't know either the day or the hour." He has just told people what to expect before he comes again. And he's telling them, you need to stay alert. Keep your oil lamps full. In the Bible, oil often represents the Holy Spirit. In other words, keep yourself mindful of God. Stay filled up with the Holy Spirit. Make sure that you stay in communication with God. Because if you start to drift off and fall asleep and slack off, that may be the time that the Lord comes back, and you will not be ready. You will not be ready. The people that will be taken with Jesus when he comes back are oftentimes referred to as the bride of Christ. All these people make up the bride of Christ. So this parable is, Jesus is explaining to them, when I come for my bride, when I come for the ones that will be a part of this magnificent wedding feast that I'm holding, you don't know when that's going to be. You need to be ready. You need to stay in relationship with me. Some of these parables that Jesus teaches, the disciples, the people that he was teaching to, didn't quite grasp or understand the full depth of what he was trying to teach at the time. We have the benefit of hindsight. We have the benefit of being able to see all of the things that Jesus taught them were going to happen. Everything that God says he's going to do, he does. Everything that Jesus said was going to happen, happened. He said he will return one day for those that have accepted and love him, and he will. Because he does not lie. God is incapable of lying. That is something that only we as humans are capable of doing, is lying. So this is the practical application of this. He is telling us to stay alert, to stay filled with the Spirit, to be ready, because we may know the season in which Jesus is going to return. In other words, we can start to see some of these signs happen. These brides knew that the groom was coming, but he was delayed. And they sort of thought, well, maybe he's not coming tonight. Maybe he's just going to come tomorrow. And they fell asleep. With this, we're not talking about, nobody's saying don't get any sleep, stay awake all night. Nobody's saying that. Our flesh needs sleep, but our spirits need to stay awake, and our spirits need to stay in tune with what God is doing. So today, if you feel as if you have maybe fallen asleep, if you've drifted off, if you've drifted away from the Lord, if you feel that your lamp, so to speak, is not filled up right now, do not hesitate to fill your lamp back up. And it's as simple as just repenting to the Lord and saying, look, I know that I've wandered away from you. I haven't been doing things the way that you want me to. But Lord, I'm sorry, and I want to come back to you. And I want to be in full relationship with you. I want my lamp to be full. I want to be ready when you come back, because it's going to be an exciting feast. It's going to be an exciting time. And I don't want to miss it. And I invite you to do that, to pray and to just reconsecrate yourself to the Lord. One of the nice things, one of the wonderful things, the most beautiful things is that Jesus was the ultimate priest, and we can go to him directly. We don't have to go to somebody else and say, hey, could you go to God for me? We can do that ourselves. He's given us the right to do that. That was the whole reason why he died on the cross for us. All right, well, that is all that we have today. Now, you'll notice we did something different. We did not read the entire chapter. This is a long chapter with 46 verses in it. So we just read one of the stories because, like I told you, Jesus talked about different stories. So we just picked one of those out today and read that one. If there's something a story that you would like for us to go through, just let me know. I hope you got something out of today's reading. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.